everyone. We're just beginning our live stream of the Polar Bear Classic Open Platform event on the platform, our last event for the weekend. So once again, we'd like to welcome you all to our feed, and thank you for joining us all weekend. It has been a lot of fun bringing this outstanding diving to the world. We hope you enjoy this feed, and we will talk to you at the end of the feed. All right, thank you very much. Make sure you tell your friends and family about us. We'll talk to you in a little bit. Enjoy the feed. Take it away, Candace.
Judges award. 7, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 6.5. Carter Baker from White Rock on the 5 meter, 105C. Judges award. 5.5 across. Moving on to round 1 for the women, LEIA BERMAN from Revolution on the 7.5 meter, 103B. Judges award 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Up next, Ellie Rain from Revolution on the 5 meter, 103C. Judges award 5.5, 5.5, 4.5, 5, 5. Olivia Gerardin from Revolution on the 7.5 meter, 103B. Judges award 5 across. Up next, Lucy Christopher from Revolution, 7.5 meter, 105B. Judges award 5, 5, 5.5, 4.5, 5. Corin and Wolf on the 5 meter, 403C. Judges award 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 5.5. Natalie Cromwell on the 5 meter, 103B. Judges award 6, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5. Lisa Bernatsky, Revolution, 7.5 meters, 105B. awards. 7.5, 6.5, 7, 6.5, 7. Our final dive around and a WYLIE revolution on the 5-meter 105 feet. Judges award. 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 7. Moving on to round 2 to the men. Adam on the 5-meter 105B. Judges award. 7.5, 8, 7.5 across. Carter on the 10-meter 5235D. Judges award. 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 5.5, 7. Returning to the women. LEIA on the 7.5 meter 612B. Judges award. 6, 6, 5, 5.5, 6.5. Ellie on the 7.5 meter 301C. Judges award. 6.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 7. Olivia on the 5 meter 203C. Judges award. 6, 5.5, 6, 5.5, 5.5. Lucy on the 5 meter 201B. Judges award. 6, 6, 5.5, 5, 5. Gordon on the 5 meter 203C. Judges award. 5.5, 5, 5.5, 5.5, 5. Natalie from the 5 meter 403C. 6.5. Zeta from the 5 meter, 203C. Judges award. 6, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 5. Amelia from the 7.5 meters at 105B. Judges award. 8, 8, 7.5, 7.5, 8. Robin from the 5 meters, 203B. Judges award. 5, 5, 5, 4.5, 5.5. Addison from the 5 meters, 612B. Judges award. 5, 4.5, 5 across. Anna from the 5 meters, 203C. Judges award. 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4, 4.5. On to round 3, that's the men. Adam on the 7.5 meter with 612B. Oh, 1 moment, please. Re-announce Adam, 612B. Judges award. 7, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 7. Carter on the 10 meter, 624B. Judges award. 4.5, 3, 4.5 across. Returning to the women, round 3, LEIA on the 5 meter, 203C. Judges award. from the 5 meters, 301B. Judges award. 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5. Lucy on the 5 meter, 403C. Judges award. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.5. Corbin from the 5 meter, 303C. Judges award. 6, 5.5, 6, 6, 5.5. Natalie from the 5 meter, 301B. Judges award. 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 7. Sita from the 7.5 meter, 5231T. Judges award. 7.5, 7, 7, 7, 8. Amelia, 5 meter, 403C. Judges award. 8, 8.5, 8, 8, 8.5. Robin from the 5 meter, 301C. Just hold on to those scores for a minute, please. All right, judges awards. 6, 6, 6.5 across. Addison from the 7.5 meter, 105B. Judges award. 5, 4.5, 4, 4.5, 5.5. Anna from the 10 meter, 301C. moving and round for LEIA on the 5 meter, 303C. Judges award. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5. Ellie for the 5 meter, 403C. Judges award. 4.5, 5.5, 5, 4.5, 5.5. Olivia from the 5 meter, 403C. Judges award. 4.5, 5, 4.5 across. Lucy from the 10 meter, 612B. Judges award. 6, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6.5. Gordon from the 5 meter, 105C. Judges award. 3.5, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 4. Natalie on the 5 meter, 203C. Judges award. 6, 6, 5.5, 5, 6.5. Tita from the 5 meter, 303C. Judges award. 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 6. Amelia from the 5 meter, 203C. Judges award. 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 6. Robin on the 5 meter, 403C. Judges award. 4 across. Jackson from the 5 meter, 203B. Judges award. 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, 4. Final time around score, Anna from the 7.5 meter, 405C. Judges award. 5.5, 5, 4.5, 5.5, 5.5. Round 5, starting with Adam, 5 meters, 203B. Judges award. 6, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6. Carter from the 10 meter, 305C. Judges award. 8, 8.5, 8, 8.5, 8. Returning to the 5th and final round for the women, Leia on the 5 meter, 5.231D. Judges award. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5. Ellie from the 5 meter, 203C. Judges award. 4.5, 4.5, 3.5, 4, 5. Olivia from the 7.5 meter, 612B. Judges award. 5.5, 3.5, 3.5, 4, 5. Lucy from the 5 meter, 5231D. Judges award. 4.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5. Corbin from the 5 meter, 5231D. Judges award. 6.5, 6, 6, 6.5, 6. Natalie from the 5 meters, 612B. Judges award. 8, 7, 7, 6.5, 7.5. Zeta from the 7.5 meter, 405C. Judges award. 3.5, 4, 4, 4, 4.5. Amelia from the 7.5 meter, 5233D. Judges award. 4.5, 5, 5.5, 5, 5. Robin from the 10 meter, 612B. Judges award. 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, 4.5, 4.5. Addison from the 7.5 meter, 403B. Judges award. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.5. Our final diver for the women, Anna on the 10 meter, 612B. Judges award. 5.5, 5.5, 5, 5.5, 5.5. Coming on to our sixth and final round for the men, Adam on the 5 meter, 303C. Judges award. 6.5, 7.5, 6.5 across. And our final diver of the event, Carter from the 10 meter, 205B. That concludes the men's and women's open platform, and that concludes the 2022 Polar Bear Classic.
And that concludes our open platform event here at 2022 Polar Bear Classic. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. It's been a great weekend. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as we have. All these events will continue to be viewable on our YouTube channel for Dive Manitoba. Just YouTube search Dive Manitoba. You will find our channel. We will be back streaming our next event, which will be June 3rd to 5th, the Dive Manitoba Summer Provincial Championships. So watch out for links that will let you know when we're going to stream those events. Anyways, thank you very much. You have a great winter, end of winter, and a great spring, and we'll see you in June. Have a great day. For Garrett, Peter, and myself, have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.